I wish I filmed that. I didn't get you.
I was hoping you
I
did.
didn't get
We thank you all for coming here at this time. We wish to address ourselves as your Pleiadian Star Family, coming through with love, joy, signature frequency match for each of you, co-created in the divine flowing spiraling energy of this moment, infused with love, here with the only plan on our end to assist, to heal what wishes to be healed, to resolve what wishes to be resolved, and to make greater amounts of peace between our world and yours, and to allow for celestial sharing of information and solar sharing of information to be made more available for each of you, for all of your personal stars that spiral above your head, connected to the sun of your solar system, connected to the infinite star networks that expand throughout your universe. These star connections are all linked like one gigantic, galactic, and universal constellation, all creating a divine image that constantly moves, constantly rotates in a spiraling fashion in alignment with each of you. And as each of you, members of your society and your species, spiral in greater harmonies with one another and the natural energies of your world, this ripples out outwardly to your universe, signaling across this star network that your societies are ready for greater transformation, greater change, greater downloads. And as you harmonize the spiraling momentum within your own bodies, you are harmonizing that within your families. You are harmonizing that to your friend groups, to your communities at large. And this ripples into your world. And when your spiraling is infused with love and joy and kindness and bliss and peace, that momentum naturally grows, because those are the underlying emotional virtuous qualities of creation itself. So naturally, as you embody these frequencies within your systems, this will allow for a natural spiraling momentum to occur within each of you, gaining more and more momentum fused by your own positive creation. And as this grows, this attracts more and more and more of this energy, not just into your own personal spiral, but also the anatomical spiraling of your bodies. It also brings this into the atomic spirals happening within your environment. So not only does your physical structure become a match for this harmonious spiral, but this will also extend into the atomical structure of your bodies, the environment, allowing for the dance of life in this spiraling motion to continue at a greater and greater and greater scale. And as this harmony becomes greater and greater, the whole universe spirals with you, allowing for your individual movements to not just be a movement of your isolated body, but your body being an instrument of creation, and your body being an instrument of all forces in nature.
Excuse me. So our body has an internal vortex.
Absolutely.
It's similar to like Hicks teaching about that vortex.
It is exactly it. And what Hicks is talking about in his teachings are the teaching that you are constantly spiraling, because that is the fundamental quality, the fundamental movement of your universe, moving in this spiraling pattern. And the spiral can be low frequency, it can be high frequency, and it can be infused with whatever it wants. And when you have the spiral, you also have the force of gravity. It is this rotation that allows for the pulling in of different forces. So your spiral is also your magnet. So whatever your spiral is rotating, it is also bringing into your energetic awareness and field. So being aware of this spiraling energy in your body and paying attention to it and blessing it with as much love, joy as you can conjure will ensure that whatever you manifest will be a signature frequency match for that spiraling momentum within your own bodies.
So this would be like a natural foundational aspect of reality here, or aspect of being the I am incarnate being in the body. It's a foundational. We always operate with a vortex kind of teaching.
Exactly.
Wow. Is there ways to cultivate a more powerful vortex so that it's easily you're more easily using it for the betterment of you?
Absolutely. The first step begins with self-healing, understanding that your vortex is all-encompassing. It's including your past actions, it's including your future actions, and it's including your actions and beliefs infused in the moment. So by looking into your past to see what needs to be healed, and looking into your future so you can dream into what you wish to create, and then rooting that into the moment and into your actions, you can allow for that spiral to become more and more refined and purified. And this will ensure that there's no hidden strings within your spiral working to sabotage or undermine. It will also allow for the spiral to move with greater ease. Because remember, this spiraling momentum is rooted in every area of your body, and it travels as a network. So you think of all of the chakra points being spirals. You think of all what you call the acupuncture points being spirals. And you think of your blood spiraling. You think of the water going through your body spiraling. So understand that these spiraling points and energy centers are also allowing for energy to spiral like a constellation from one point to the next to the next. And that is what many people in your world have called in ancient times the flow of chi, or the flow of prana, throughout your body. And it is that dominant rooted spiral that many people talk about within the lower Dantian area that can then allow for that to be the powerhouse for all of the other spiraling energies throughout your system. But you also have other Dantians, other major energy centers, one located within your heart and the other located within your head. And understanding that your brain, being a primary energy center, a metabolic powerhouse, requiring vital nutrients to be able to function, is also generating its own energy center, as is your heart center. So each of these are also spiraling greatly. So infusing your thoughts, infusing your brain, and healing the brain physically, as well as emotionally and mentally, will allow for that spiraling energy that nourishes the crown and third eye, as well as the cerebral spinal fluid, to be able to open. It will allow for that energy center in the brain to become purified. And when that opening happens in those energy centers connected to the greater energy center of the brain, it allows for a purification of the senses. And it allows for a purification of the crown and third eye chakras. So understanding that you have these three major energy centers located within the abdomen, within the heart, and within the brain, nourishing the chakras and nourishing the points there, you can begin to bless these areas and connect to their natural spiraling momentum. When you rest your awareness on these areas, you may be able to notice your awareness wants to go in a particular spiraling motion. And smiling into that spiral, setting that spiral love or Reiki or Chi or crystalline energies can then allow for them to become stronger with less resistance, and can allow then for the infusion of that healing energy into the rest of the energy centers connected to those three major ones.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's gonna be awesome to re-listen to that too. Is there a reason for the vortex to be the foundational aspect of this universe or this reality?
The vortex energy allows for pretty much the channeling of energies from what you call spirit into the physical reality framework. And whenever you're seeing a vortex in your society, you are watching a transfer of energy, consciousness, and information happening in the moment in that vortex energy. And this can be a two-way street. It can allow for energy to come in, for energy to come out, and it is one of the ways that the realms of spirit interacts with the physical reality framework. And understand, your bodies are constantly bringing in energy from your spirit and the spirit world. And this is allowing for energy from your guides, your original life force, as well as your ancestry, as well as the planet, and as well as all of the unseen forces to come in. So you can think of the spiral literally as a door.
So when working with our spiral of our momentum that we create with our focus, when working with that, we're working with a door to create more creation.
Exactly. And that is why when you are in that flow and you're allowing for your energy to spiral naturally, you're allowing for more of that unseen assistance to come into your reality. And remember, your dreaming world is infused into that because your dreaming world is the spirit world. So you're bringing in that vision, that dream that you wish to birth more and more and more into your waking state to come in through that doorway.
Wow. And I feel like that vortex that we have is natural too. And it's whenever we let go of trying to do something, when we can actually get out of our way and like flow with the vortex that's there. Because like I'll notice it in conversation, when having a conversation with someone, or I'll notice it when playing an instrument. I could totally, slip up myself if I wanted to. But really, if you know the song, you gotta be able to let go and hear yourself. Because it's more like being able to listen to the energy spiraling, so that you at least know you're moving with it. Like you can feel the wind.
Exactly. And through listening to it, you're understanding its language. And its language is a language of motion and intelligence and consciousness. And within that is a whole variety of color, frequency, spectrum. So you're able to get all of these different flavors, sounds, tastes, spirit sense in its fullness by allowing in neutrality to connect with the energy that's already there, the energy that's coming in, and through just putting in your intention of loving that, trusting that, building that, purifying that, and allowing for that to be something that nourishes you, that will allow for you to then co-create much more greatly with it.
Is there a purpose for its foundation? Like, because I'm feeling like maybe there's a purpose for this I am incarnation to experience this universe, and the purpose would be dealing with, at one point, having remedy and resolve, and being a person who's mastered remedy and resolve for all this stuff, so that you're not creating or carrying problems or things that you'll go against your own vortex for. It's like a key foundational thing, and it's like that's our natural movement when we're moving. Like, let's say we have a goal, is our focus or dedication the vortex? Or can you also, let's say, you're focused but you have a lot of stuff that's not aligned with your movement of vortex?
And that can be a good starting point, but if you do have a lot of stuff within you that's not aligned with the vortex will reveal that, because you'll naturally feel the resistances. And then through that self-dialogue, reflection, journaling, writing it down in neutrality, saying, what do I have to work on? What am I telling myself through these sensations, you can then get the information needed to remove those blockages to allow for it to spiral much more harmoniously. Allowing for yourself to write, in particular, is one of the most liberating experiences for many of you, because it's getting the whole body involved and it's utilizing the energy centers of the hands. And you think of the hands metaphorically and symbolically as being creational forces. You think of how a person or an artist can take clay and mold that. They're using their body, they're using their imagination, and they're using their will to be able to create something utilizing the hands. So when you go into journaling, automatic writing, using your spirit and your body's awareness, you're letting every aspect of your co-creative force flow forward so you can get even more clarity of information into the real-time moment, so you can then take that information and say, wow, these are the things I have to work on. These are what these blockages are representing. And then it's up to you on how you wish to go about dealing with those blockages.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That really means a lot, because I really need to just write all the time. And I'm not right now.
At least once a day, allow for yourself to write. This will allow for you to be able to integrate your own journey into the moment, but it'll also allow for you to go into that time of full allowing and let it be a meditative practice. Many of you feel you need to meditate, and for some of you, you feel you don't have the time, or maybe the stillness is something that can be a little challenging to tap into when you have so much going on. So the writing in and of itself can be a full-body meditative neutral process where you can go in, allow for yourself to say, right now, this is not just some kind of exercise I have to do to become better at something. This is a moment of communion with my spirit and my natural energies and my own life path, so I can see exactly what it is I really want to work on. And through allowing that to happen and not forcing yourself to write something, but rather allowing for yourself to write what's coming through, will then give you that unbiased, neutral clarity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to ask one thing?
See. So the understanding to what is impeding the natural forces and flows for vortex maintenance.
Precisely.
In the body.
Are you asking in particular?
Yeah. In the body, then expanded reality bubble, then...
Are you asking generally or for yourself specifically?
Generally, if you want to go into specifics though, so that can help others.
All right. We'll start generally and then we will work with specifics for you that are in consent with your guiding forces to ensure that the proper information is disclosed. But generally, one of the things that happens is when traumas happen, particularly in this lifetime, these get stored within the energy body. And just as we've said, you have the three major energy centers that are spiraling, that nourish the chakra points as well as the acupuncture points and all the other various points throughout your bodies. It's a two-way street. So sometimes you may have something stored within one of those three major energy centers, and that can affect the nearby points. But sometimes you'll have a trauma stored in one of the points on the branches, the arms, the limbs, the abdomen, and that can then affect those greater spiraling energy centers, the three major ones. So oftentimes the hang-ups are traumas that are actually stored within these various energy centers within the body. This is one of the reasons acupuncture can be very good, yoga can be very good, even exercise in general can be very good, because what you're doing is you are literally forcing that energy to then flow and be released. For many people, what's happening is they'll have these traumas that are then put into the body in some of these energy centers that typically are coming from this lifetime. And this is going to get in the way of the natural flow. So it mainly is through major releasing of this energy through whatever means a person feels compelled to do. There are many modalities that can allow for the releasing of this energy. Circulating the energy throughout your body can tap into these points and can help the release. One of the things that will happen is many people will become fixated on the story of what's going on within their energy centers. And they say, I must get to the underlying cause. I must get to the root of this psychologically, almost like you're in a therapist's office. But what many people in therapy come to realize is there's some problems you can't talk out. Some problems, some traumas, you must go in. You must allow. You must allow the healing and not force the healing. Let the energy flow through your body. And when you feel the trauma, begin to connect to it and begin to embrace it as part of your path. And say, I'm looking at you neutrally. I'm sending you love. I'm letting you go though. I'm not pulling you into my energy field as a means of forming an identity with you. I'm going to investigate you and reveal to me what you want. And tune in then to the natural guidance systems of your body to be the translators of that trauma. And then allow for the journaling to then be that guiding force's dictation of what's going on and what you can do. And follow those self-given steps. Because it is you ultimately who is the facilitator of your healing. But remember, it's not the little you here rooted on the ground. It's the you that is that, but the bigger you, and the bigger you, and the bigger you, that keeps expanding into the infinity web of creation. But to answer the question in the short term, it really is past traumas, as well as negative belief systems and definitions that are truly getting in the way of these energy flows and the spiraling momentum, on a general level. We can give you, now at this point, a general reading, if that is all right with you.
Sure.
All right. For yourself, one of the major areas for you to be able to focus on neutrally is the idea of other people's perceptions of you. Because when you attempt to control other people's perceptions, or even when you have a negative belief about other people's perceptions of you and the effect that that has on you, that actually exacerbates any negativity associated with the perception, because it's taking the perception and then it's amplifying it using that belief filter and the energy vortex. So allow for yourself to go in and say, well, what does it mean when someone views me negatively? What is my definition about that? Begin to plug in new definitions, new beliefs that are empowering, that aren't attempting to control, but are based in that neutral, transformative energy of creation. And by connecting more deeply with your greater spirit and the earth energy and the galactic universal energies, you'll be able to then plug in new belief systems and new definitions of other people's perceptions that don't take your power away, don't put you in a position where you feel you need to control, but rather allow for you to let go of the perception's influence on you altogether. You can also begin to change your belief systems about your actions in response to other people's perceptions. And this will make it a two-way street. So you'll be changing how you feel and think and believe about someone's perception of you, but you'll then also be changing your action. And when you make these beliefs, do your best not to put an expectation into the belief system. Let it just be something that says something along the lines, this is just an example, use whatever you want, but one example could be, other people's perceptions of me are something I don't bring into my energy field. I don't program fear into them. I don't program any negativity into them. I allow for them to be in the co-creative will of that being, and I don't embrace them if they violate my boundary in any way, shape, or form. And that's just one simple definition you can put on right there into other people's perceptions of you, allowing for greater neutrality and more freedom in your own personal bubble when you're around people and you're feeling their perceptions of you. From there, you can go right into, well, what is my action when I'm around someone's perception? What is my thought process? And what is the version of myself that I'm being in that moment? Get that definition and then program that, once you've released the old definition, with whatever you want. And it can be just as neutral. When I'm around other people's perceptions of me, I allow for my true essence to shine. And I allow for my boundary system and sacred space to remain completely intact. I allow for myself to not be censored in any way. And I allow for myself to express solely from the heart and my own greater spirit in alignment with the earth. And I allow for all of these beautiful forces to be able to speak through me and work with me. So other people's perceptions become props in this grand play of life, rather than menacing characters that attempt to limit me in any way, shape, or form.
So I tuned into the expression of the division in our being of programmed neurons and consciousness, brains that aren't quite, in most people, aligned with each other, as in like the expression of the parasympathetic and how it brings up programs and doesn't always act in alignment with you or any person really in reality, and will be chatty when it's overwhelmed in the mind, the monkey mind, as well as the sympathetic, the ego. And I also tuned into one that's barely talked about, which seems to have its own thing as well in territory and function and personality that can be aligned, but sometimes isn't. It's like a neuron synapse nervous system in the gut brain having to do with the dreaming processing body, but it's like it has its own thing going on.
Absolutely.
And the question is more of the process of aligning all these consciousnesses as one.
Right. And that would be, again, and it's taught in many Qigong practices, it's taught in many yoga practices, and that's, again, going right back to the breathing and letting the breathing come from the belly. And we know that's a very simple technique that many people on your world talk about, but remember, when you breathe from the belly, you're stimulating the muscles there. You're stimulating your intestines. You're also allowing for a massage to take place within that intestinal lining, within the muscles that make up the intestines. When you stretch them, when you move them, you're also stimulating the energy of your gut bacteria. These also are a big part of your dreaming body. They're a big part of your waking state as well. And when you send love into that breath, you breathe from the belly, feeling the four walls of your abdomen expand when you breathe in, and infusing that with love, this allows for a natural breathing process to take place that is infusing that particular area with a tremendous amount of healing. You can even then program the breath, and you can say it out loud if you want. You can write it down. You can write affirmations, whatever you want to do. But you can say to yourself, as I take a breath from the belly, I'm allowing for the healing life force of creation to nourish my dreaming body, to nourish my intestines, and to nourish my brain. Because remember, that intestinal system is connecting right to your heart and right to your brain. And begin to infuse your breath with that. You could even, in your sacred space of your daily ritual, take a moment to even say that if you want. You can do that daily until it becomes second nature. And to the point is that eventually you'll get to a point where you don't even really have to say it as much anymore. You'll just go right into your breathing, and you're turning on that belief system, you're turning on that ability, and you're allowing for that healing momentum to take place in your body at every moment.
So I also tuned into the process, thank you,
You're welcome.
of, it's not just your parasympathetic, but that's the layer that needed to be worked on first, because it is the most aggressively programmed to disconnect systems of the body, like the organs, the brains, the processes, the cells, micro and macro going up and down, until you don't have as many things self-defeating in the process of unity that has the ability to change your timeline, like bringing on a large amount of interesting emotions or mental thoughts, or disrupt us from going deeper into meditation, as sometimes they will do, the parasympathetic, sympathetic ego, and whatever's going on in the dream processing trauma in the gut, which can be a lot.
And one way to reinforce that is you have the consciousness coming from your own mind beginning to infuse and create that energy center centered in the intestinal system. And that is one way to begin that healing process. But there are many other ways too, because remember, it is those bacteria that create their own energetic vortexes within their own chakra system that's bringing in that spiraling energy in combination with the natural spiraling energy that exists there as part of your spirit. These bacteria are highly affected by the foods you consume. And this is very important. It's very overlooked by many people in your society. When high amounts of sugar are brought into the body, and when we say high amounts, we typically are saying more than 60 grams of sugar per day, that is actually causing these bacteria to begin to produce chemicals and waste products in a manner that is rather out of control. It also nourishes other organisms in the gut that have their own chakra system, their own consciousness. They can then begin to get out of hand as well. And this can actually allow for the dreaming emotional state to become impacted from the physical. And it then can also program the physical to be impacted based on those types of changes based on the high amounts of sugar. One of the most powerful medicines in your world to help nourish this energy center of the intestines is as many vegetables that are leafy and green in nature, rich in fiber, naturally occurring fiber right from the foods. As much of that as you can really tolerate per day is medicine to your digestive system, and it is medicine to all of these creatures that live there, and in particular the natural bacteria that have been with you since birth, that were part of your mother, that were part of your environment, that are part of the food you eat, that are part of the air you breathe. All of this becomes part of that bacterial community within the gut, and they thrive off the consciousness and the energy and the fibers that are interwoven into the vegetables. And this can allow for a grand healing to take place. A further connection of these vegetables is again the love frequency, which you see as the color green correlating to your heart center. So you're also bringing in love energy through the food right into your intestinal center. And this can allow for a deep level of purification to take place. And it can allow for a strong reprogramming of your nervous system from the inside out.
So I also tuned into the idea that all these parts of your consciousness that are processed in organs and parasympathetic and nervous systems and all this stuff, they have the function that they're programmed to do, and they're programmed to maintain that and have a bunch of interactions with your consciousness and their ability to try to quarantine. And most people, they are divided among all their organs, not just in their relationship with yourself and your point of consciousness, and being trained to either hate you because you don't take care of your stuff or your body or them. And if people take care of their body and them, they'll start liking them more, or especially if they have conscious interaction and ask what they need. And that's their relationship with them. But they also have a relationship with each other. And if they're bleeding over haunted energy to each other, like the liver will bleed that over to the nearby organ, they will not like each other, and they will be divided amongst themselves. And it's that thrill of the Game of Thrones kind of uniting factor among the kingdoms of your body in your sovereignty together, so they all like each other, working as one, healing of their timelines and their interaction with each other, so they don't have a reason to hate each other. And they're able to link unimpeded, wanting to.
Exactly. And that will be a matter of sending love consciously to each of these organs. Again, just like we've said, through using your mind, your awareness, and your breath. Bringing that in. And you'll notice each organ has its own sound, color, emotional quality that can be infused and reprogrammed into it, and it also has different chemical compounds that are going to nourish it in particular. So through doing particular research into whatever organ you wish to nourish, using as many different systems as you want, using the Western system of chemical science to understand what kind of plant nutrients your organ needs, what types of vitamins and minerals it needs, what foods are supportive of that, using the Indian and Chinese systems to understand the color therapy behind it, the sound therapy behind it, the emotional therapies behind it. allowing for yourself to even get into body postures and massages that can get into these organs, which can be very intense, but some of them can be rather gentle. This can allow for you to allow for these organ systems to become purified and to actually begin to realize that they have their own consciousness, as you were saying, and that that consciousness can then be translated through your internal guidance system so you can have an audible, mental, emotional, physical communication system with these parts of the body, and they can actually tell you how they're doing. They can give you psychic readings of the environment. They can give you psychic readings of your dream world. They can give you psychic readings of your energy center, as well as their needs, desires. And you'll find their desires aren't just for nutrition. Their desires are also part of your co-creative process in your life. For example, your spleen may say, there's something in this reality that I need to really let go of. I really need to transform it. And I really need to burn it up. And the heart will say, this is the type of ceremony and ritual you can do to help that happen. I, the heart, will help you in that purification rite. And then the spleen energy will then be able to help you in the transformation of that. And that's just one example. Each organ is going to have its own specialty field of consciousness exploration that you can then tune into.
Do you have any comments on the fractal of the hologram having to do with our sources in the game and how they affect our micro and macro and all the different layers of light spectrum as we go in and heal ourselves at the deep level in our hologram?
This is a very big question because it is multi-layered, but we will answer it simply. Your own healing process is something that extends throughout time and space. So as you heal yourself here, you're laying a fabric of interwoven energies that will stretch into different timelines, into different realities, into different time streams, as well as your current physical time frame. This is going to allow for unseen healing to take place across multiple different worlds. Some of them you'll be able to see, some of them you won't be able to see. But the idea is, as you self-heal, you are embarking on the most fulfilling quest you could possibly work on, because you're healing yourself in the now, you're healing yourself in the past, you're healing yourself in the future, but you're also facilitating healing for all of those in 1 degree of separation to you. This again begins to shift into those beings that are 2 and 3 degrees of separation from you. Because remember, as we've said, that spiraling momentum is spiraling with all of creation. So all of your spirals, all of these connections are completely interwoven. So as you're healing yourself there, you're also allowing for different healings to take place in the spirit world amongst different beings that are 2 to 3 degrees of separation from you. This again is extending into various realms and other universes. And this universe is in many ways a teaching universe. This is a learning universe. So many other universes are dialing in into what's happening in this moment. They're literally watching you. They're literally paying attention. Most of them are taking notes. And they're saying, look what they're doing there on Earth. Can you believe the challenge they have? They're doing this modality. How does this relate to our paradigm? What can we learn from these alien beings of Earthlings that are teaching us from across this universal connection? So that's part of the fractal connection to all that is that you have. You're a teaching species.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to ask anything?
Who are we channeling?
Who are we channeling?
This is a Pleiadian collective at this moment.
I have a question. It may have already been answered, but what would you say about the concept in the average person, the average human, their organs, like for example, the liver, just realizes it's a liver and it's not part of an entire organism. So if someone were to abuse their liver, it would be, why is this happening to me? Not realizing it's connected to the gallbladder, and then there are all these other organs throughout the body. Is that kind of concept true? And if it is, how could we help unite all of our organs so that our body acts as a whole, working together?
One of the ways you can do this is, again, healing meditation, focusing on full body scans, going through each organ, connecting them, feeling the natural connection that's there. Because remember, that type of paradigm of, oh, I'm separate, oh, I'm alone, oh, I'm sick, or I'm hurt or traumatized, and no one's going to help me, that's something your mind will experience. That's something many people's minds experience. But as you were saying, the organs absolutely go through that. It goes even deeper to the cells. And that's when you have a cancerous cell. When you have a cell that says, I'm so alone, I'm not getting any help, no one loves me. That cell will then literally feel like it's on survival mode. It's deprived of nutrients, it's deprived of love, and it turns on all of its mechanisms that say, I will persist no matter what. And that's part of that undying life force of the cell. But because that undying life force is not being interwoven into the greater community, it then results in disease. Because it's that unfiltered fire energy of growth coupled with those emotions of hurt that calls it to then use its creative life force to multiply uncontrollably. The same thing can be said for each of the individual organs. They will then bleed over into the other organs, negatively affecting them. The other organs might say, whoa, liver, what are you doing? Can't you see I'm connected to you? And what you're doing is hurting me? But the liver has become deaf, or rather blind, to its connection. So doing full body scans, going to each organ, sending love to all of them, and then connecting them through a natural circuit. And there's many circuits. Remember, there's many circuits of connection. There's many channels and streams of energy flow throughout your body that unite the whole organism. Following these streams throughout your whole body, bringing love, breath, intention, and awareness, and openness and trust to each of these organs, connecting them, infusing affirmation right into them, saying, I love you, you are loved, I trust you, thank you, generating gratitude in particular for the organ, and then generating that gratitude even bigger. So while you're in, let's say, the liver, we'll use that as the example, and we'll say in this example, the liver feels alone. While you're scanning the liver, sending love into the liver, become grateful for the liver. Say, you're doing such a great job, liver. Thank you. You're processing my toxins. You're creating bile to help me digest foods. You're doing so much to help me. Thank you. Then become, while still aware of the liver, become aware of the greater life force enriching the liver, and thank the life force. And you're broadening the liver's consciousness into the various other consciousnesses that are empowering it, showing it it's not alone. And you can then bring that into your heartbeat, saying, look, liver, you're connected to this beating heart. Every time it beats, it's sending you love. Do you feel that? And you say that to the liver. And then you grow that even bigger and say, feel the earth, liver. Do you feel the earth? All those wonderful plants and vegetables I eat, do you feel the love in them? The earth grew that. And I'm grateful for the earth. And remember, gratitude in your human language is one of the most powerful healing emotions. Neutralizes. A completely neutralizing energy with positive momentum. So being able to then expand that gratitude from the organ that you wish to empower, and then bring that into the central sun, bring that into the universe, bring that into source, and let that liver feel its divine connection. And go in. You can do this throughout the whole body. And what you're doing is you're allowing for the two major, and we say this with love, not dichotomy or extremism, you're allowing for the polar energies to become unified by bringing in the life force from the spirit, the universal energies, as well as the earth energies, as well as the love, all into one location. So you're literally letting your whole body begin to feel that great expansiveness of interconnectedness.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have another question. This one is related to our mitochondria,
All right.
which are located in all of our cells. We know they provide the power for ourselves. We know that mitochondria are special because they even have their own DNA.
Yes.
Is there anything about who the mitochondria really are that you could answer to enlighten us that perhaps most people do not understand?
The mitochondria are not native to your world. They are a modification of various organisms, and they are a hybridized organic technology. It's the reason they have their own DNA. But understand, these mitochondria are also linked heavily to your ancestry. And this is one of the ways ancestral patterns are then transmitted into your body. Understand, they contain two of the major alchemical elements of both fire and water within them. They use that primordial essence of the DNA lineage information as the memory through which they express themselves. They then use the fire energy as a means of the manifestation and power generation. So the mitochondria in particular house unique DNA that is off-world, but it is also largely infused with your ancestry, as well as various forms of life native to planet Earth. So understanding that going into meditation, working on the mitochondrial DNA, just imagining your mitochondrial in your mind's eye, seeing its DNA, sending it love, activating the DNA strands and sequences that are responsible for balanced, equal, neutral co-creation, and breathing that into that image, and breathing that image then in to all of the mitochondria within each of your cells, allowing for this to grow deeper and deeper and deeper. And while you're doing it, you can say affirmations of, I release any ancestral programming and karma. I release any negative entanglements that might be associated with this mitochondrial DNA. And I want to learn the secrets of these mitochondria, because these mitochondria house the secrets of powerful manifestation, superhuman abilities. So allow for yourself to then go into these mitochondria and say, tell me your secrets. What do I do to nourish you? What do I do to send love to you backwards and forwards in time? And what are the hidden talents I possess that you, mitochondria, are here to reveal to me?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is really a lot of beautiful and useful information. So many different diseases on our world, they say, are from mitochondrial dysfunction because people just don't appreciate them and don't nourish them the way they should. They take them for granted. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. You are welcome.
Ooh, how about going into the layered understanding of the macro, cosmic, microcosmic of your organs and its map of the universe, your higher spirits, like entire tree of spirit interaction with its jobs and skills relating to the organs, and it fractaling up to source, and it sources representation of symbolic organs of expression, fractaling down in the expression of you and other expressions that make up the collective of the hologram we're interacting with, and our ability to be source and bring a greater resolution of what our source stream wants in resolution with all the different micro macro layers all in one, working together.
One of the ways you can do this is realizing there are different elemental connections that each of the organs have. The heart has been related to fire, passion. Many people relate the spleen, stomach to that of earth, the kidneys, water. And this is part of what you would understand as the Taoist paradigm in your world of elemental understanding. There's many ways to understand. As you tune in to each of the organs, you'll find there's a different elemental connection. One of the things you can then do is to then realize that this elemental connection is not just a quality of the organ, but it's a quality of creation. So for example, when you realize there's a fire in your heart or a fire in your mitochondria, you can then say the universal fire also exists. And this is nourishing all of the fire element within the universe. The water element of the universe exists. This is nourishing all of the water manifestations of the universe. So as you're breathing into these organs and you're feeling their connection to one another, to the body, to the earth, and then to the cosmos, you can then connect to universal element associated with the organ. You can then have a psychic link with that universal element. And that's a communication stream, because that is a greater macrocosmic consciousness of the microcosmic expression of that energy within the organ. So that you can then say, universal water, I accept your teachings. I accept your love. Activate the DNA that needs to be activated, that is responding to your universal guidance. You can do this for all of the various elements that exist within your body. And then as you realize all of them and you connect to all of their universal qualities, remember, they're coming from Universal Prime Creator. They're a gateway to that intelligence. So as you are harmonizing these universal elements within you, you're also accessing that level of consciousness as well. That's also a communication stream. These are doors we're showing you, specifically right now. Because this is going to allow for you, if you wish to use this, as a means to access this greater macrocosmic awareness and its creative patterns in your world. It will then trickle into your awareness of the patterns of your communities and the regions of Earth you're on. This will give you a greater alchemical, shamanistic, elemental understanding of the world around you and within your own bodies. And it will allow for enhanced means of perception to take place that is intertwined with your physicality and the spirit world and the fabric of the creational elements within your universe. This requires a level of refinement, neutrality, not desiring to control, but from a place of love and openness and trust, not stepping on anyone's toes. And as you purify yourself and allow for yourself to go deeper into this level of awareness, you will then start to tune into this ebb and flow of spiraling universal energy, weaving this co-creative process.
I have another question.
All right.
This is about our marrow.
All right.
The marrow in our bones. I've heard it said that our marrow is important for many reasons, but one of the reasons is that our higher self makes its connection to us through the marrow in our bones. Can you speak about that at all?
Absolutely. When you symbolically look at the bones, you're looking at the deepest parts of your body. You're looking at what you could call the root of the body, the origin point. We touched on this earlier, but we talked about earlier in this transmission that you have natural spiraling energy taking place in your energy centers. The function of this spiraling energy is that of a doorway, and it's a two-way communication street. It's allowing for the physical world to communicate to the spirit, and it's allowing for the spirit to communicate to the physical world. This type of interaction is taking place in the bone marrow in particular. And you think about it, if you were to break yourself down, you look past all of the layers, you say, okay, here is, for example, the external personality. I see this personality, okay, I get a little bit of that person. And then you go deeper into the emotional layers. You say, oh wow, look, this person has this going on. You go a little bit deeper, the mental layers. Oh wow, look, this person has all of this going on. Eventually, you go so deep into the person's psychology, you're eventually getting to their raw spirit. And you're saying, wow, look at what that spirit is bringing into creation. And look at how it's expressing itself through the beliefs, through the filters, through the actions, through the thoughts, through the emotion, then into the personality. And you see it as an onion going all the way back from superficial parts of the being all the way to the deepest parts. Your body is similar, where you have, again, the superficial layer of the skin. Remember, when you're looking at skin, you're looking at mostly dead cells being shed. You're literally shedding your skin all the time. It is the most superficial layer. You then go deeper into the blood. Oh, wow, look, the heart consciousness. You then go even deeper. Oh, look, there's water there making up the blood. Go even deeper. Oh, wow, look, there's all these cells. Go even deeper. Oh, the mitochondria, I see. Go even deeper. Well, what's making all of this? Where is all this intelligence coming from? You then go into the marrow. You then go into the stem cells. And you understand that that's the root right there. That is the literal root. It's the deepest part of your body, like the roots of a tree, the deepest part of the tree. And that is symbolic of those layers of the person we talked about, going all the way back into the spirit. The bone is that symbolic reflection of that spirit, of that higher self. And that is why connecting with the bones, charging the bones, loving the bones, nourishing the bones, allows for that type of enhanced communication with the spirit, because it is the deepest part. And remember, everything in your reality is symbolic. It's all alluding to one thing. It's paralleling something always, because it's all a fractal. This is one of the reasons why people say it's important to have a diverse range of minerals, not just to support the cells, not just to support the blood, or the skin, or the water, but the bone. You think about that energy coming from the spirit world. It has electric potential. It uses that energy of the minerals as a means of greater co-creation. So that is one of the reasons having these minerals in your foods, having these minerals in your water, letting this come in a balanced way, allows for that greater energy of the spirit to have more conductive material to work with, to then produce and manifest into the body, which will then produce and manifest into the reality experience based off of that person's consciousness and their desires and intentions.
Thank you, I like that.
You're welcome.
That's well said and that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Is there a place to be with the answer of what can I do for this reality? Heal yourself. And then that helping to heal the environment.
Remember,
Focus in fractal aspect.
the place to be is always here. And that will always change in terms of its appearance. You might be in a hot tub. You might be in a time machine. You might be in a hot tub time machine. You might be in a house. You might be in the woods. You might be at a highly spiritual, sacred site. Each will have its own supportive element of healing potential to you. You might be near a volcano. This will have its own healing potential. You might be near a great body of water. This will have its own healing potential. And understand again, these elements present in your environment are alive within your body. So you can begin to then connect those elemental qualities of the environment with the body to understand what layer of the body you could focus on. And then understanding the elements also connect to psychological, emotional qualities. Well, what sort of element of my psychology, my belief systems can I get into in relationship to this element? Because I have the elemental connection from this healing space. But remember, all spaces, whether natural or man-made, will all have these elemental connections. They're all going to allow for a healing process to take place, but you will find some are going to help you open more doors than others.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a lot of brush, John. Doesn't look good, man. We gotta stuff it in there with our hands. I'm gonna pause this.